Hi, some of my clients are very surprised when they come to me as a personal trainer that the little and often approach, which so many fitness magazines and websites say is the way to lose weight, hasn't worked for them, and they don't really understand, in fact, why it was recommended in the first place. There is no real solid science as to why eating little and often would work. When you think about how we've evolved as a race of people, maybe 100 years ago, not everybody knew where their next meal was coming from. And certainly over 200 years ago, that would have been very difficult to predict. So we've adapted and evolved to be able to go periods of time without eating. And certainly if you go back 500 years, breakfast, lunch and dinner wouldn't be a thing that everybody could get to easily. So our body is not designed to graze, let alone have breakfast, lunch and dinner. So why did the little and often approach come to the forefront of losing weight at some point? Well, there is some science about how the brain monitors our hunger, and this is about 30 minutes after the meal or any meal. There are receptors in the brain that will look at what's going through the bloodstream and the nutrients and will send signals out to you to raise your hunger, to make you eat again. And so the little and often hypothesis is that if you continually eat, your brain will not worry and will not send signals out to you to eat, and therefore you won't overeat. Because there's still quite a lot of scientists just simply looking at the fact that if you put more calories in than you burn, you're going to gain weight, but that isn't even true anyway, so that's for another video. So, but that's the reason anyway, that they think that the brain needs constant reassurance that there is enough nutrients in your body, and that will stop you overeating. Science has moved on. Strangely I say that, actually in 1931 we knew that carbohydrates and sugars were quite dangerous, and the Nobel Peace Prize winner was one of the first people to say that high levels of carbohydrates and sugars was actually quite dangerous. They won a Nobel Peace Prize for it, so it isn't really new science, but it seems to have been forgotten because other things have taken over. For instance, lots of clinical studies funded by sugary sort of companies. Anyway, let's have a look at this. So if you have breakfast, you're going to spike insulin. This little drawing of a mountain range here is the insulin reaction to the food going into your body. Now, insulin isn't just relating to diabetes. Insulin is the hormone that makes sure you have enough energy to get through the day, and also the hormone that stores fat. So this is the reaction of insulin. Now, in the medical textbooks, it's categoric that you cannot fat burn when there is insulin in your system, because insulin's job is to store fat. So quite obvious really actually that making insulin spike is not a good thing if you want to lose weight. Now, if you're eating little and often, that does imply you're not eating enough nutrients in the first place. You're going to feel hungry, so you're going to snack, and this is exactly what happens. And if you're snacking, you are increasing insulin all throughout the day. You're really not giving your body any chance to fat burn, because your breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner, snack, and then you go to sleep. Now luckily your body gets a little bit of a time off to reboot and recover, and your insulin will drop, and that is when you go into fat burning. Sadly, if you've been doing this, there's so many reserves of energy and so much stored energy in your muscles and in your liver that the chances of the fat storage being used is quite unlikely. So this second one here, this second chart here, is firstly somebody who's only eating 3 times a day and having a ketogenic type breakfast of egg and bacon or egg and sausage, scrambled eggs, those sort of things, are a really nice hearty breakfast. Now firstly, insulin won't spike so much. Secondly, you will feel fuller for longer. You'll feel satisfied and your insulin will drop, and then you have some lunch, and then you have dinner. So the fat burning, there's more chance of fat burning if you're only having 3 meals. Now if you're eating a meal full of fat, one thing that definitely happens is you feel more satisfied. So there's a strong possibility you'll end up only having 2 meals a day, but they'll be full of great nutrients: fish, eggs, cheese, proteins of all different types, and you can use fats. Obviously that's going to be really good. Nuts is another good one. So anything that is avoiding carbs and sugar is also going to be the best way to lose some weight. Little and often is so far from what you need to do, it's unbelievable. Hopefully that makes sense why that is.